Chapter 6. On the way. Where? Part 2. Gabriel and Day had heard the vast explosions. The news of what had just happened spread quickly through the castle city. Tugulinians were running for safety in every direction, telling and retelling the story of their brave king and how he fearlessly faced down and somehow defeated the two great Garnian warships single-handedly with brave words alone. Gabriel guarded Day closely as they ran with the chaotic streams of panicked crowds through the streets. Before entering the depot where their group was gathering, Gabriel suddenly pulled Day into a corner behind a stone-arched doorway, giving them a good vantage point from which to study things a little bit first. "What say we have us look for a second?" he said. There was a lot of added security at the entrances and exits, but the way things were falling apart, that offered them little comfort. The room was currently being cleared of all unnecessary personnel. A small crowd was gathering around the skycraft that had apparently been chosen for them, a sleek fighter craft obviously designed for its speed and maneuverability. The name Sunshaft Aurealis was written in a beautiful flowing script on the bow in fiery golden letters. "Should serve us nicely enough," the Prince Warrior replied. "Now, let's see who the king has decided will accompany us on this little journey of ours." "Look, there's Drer Freygood," Day said. "They have returned from the forest. You see Dedlin?" No," Gabriel said. "Not yet, but look over there. Stardeer, the wizard's craft, is docked. That's encouraging." "A Mahekian," Day said, spotting him making preparations near the pilot's seat. "I believe that is the same master pilot that we met in the council last evening, is it not?" "Yes, Percy was his name. He's packing as if coming along." A small, determined promenade marched fervently through the adjacent door of the depot. The knights of the guard scattered towards the corners of the room to set up a perimeter. "There's King Vantu's entourage," Day said. "Binder's there with him. It looks as if they are arguing. Come, Gabriel, let's join them. I must find Dedlin Dane." Wait, he said, holding Day back by the arm. "Look over in the shadows, near the far corner, behind the exhaust fan louvers." Day squinted. "I don't see anything." "Keep looking." Day did as Gabriel said. He watched the shadows without blinking. As his eyes adjusted, he discerned a figure lurking there, a large figure, draped and hooded. "Who do you think that is?" "Not who, but what," Gabriel replied. "It is no man. He is a Thordian, I'm quite sure, and a large one at that. I'd like to make sure of his intentions before we go parading down there. I don't see any reason why he would be skulking back there in the shadows like that." "As we are?" Day pointed out. As King Vantu neared the Sunshaft Aurealis, all his subjects halted and bowed respectfully, but the king immediately insisted that they get on with their preparations. Gabriel watched keenly as the Thordian stepped carefully and reservedly from his hiding spot, uncovering the hood from his head. His mane was thick, hanging in long braids over his massive shoulders. His brows were taut as he glared about the chamber with his bright golden eyes. "Okay, come on, I think we're safe enough," Gabriel said. "The Thordian has come from the shadows, and I saw King Vantu acknowledge him. They are acquainted. Still, stay close by my side. I trust no one today." Before the workers and crew had finished bowing to King Vantu, they spotted Gabriel and King Day coming up the back ram almost simultaneously and began bowing to them as well. "Thank you," King Vantu announced sharply and wisely and abruptly, drawing attention away from them. "Please continue with your work. We are in dire haste." Everyone did as they were bid and went on about their business. The old Gythode king hurriedly made his way over to join Gabriel and Day near the rear of their new craft. "Good. It's good to find you both here. We have pressing business. Listen, Gabriel, Because of events that have transpired this morning, I am insisting that you be returned henceforth to Bergia for your own safety, along with your young personal valet here, aboard this craft as soon as possible. At least, that is the information that my staff is allowed to pass to the public, if you catch my meaning. He had nodded to King Day when he had referred to him as Gabriel's personal valet and given a wink. This was an excellent ploy, devised by Commander Binder just minutes before, to keep from attracting any more unnecessary attention to King Day's presence there. Simultaneously, we're going to send out a good number of fighter crafts similar to this one in all directions to help confuse and lose anyone who might be waiting to follow you, he said in a soft voice. Whatever is packed now goes. Whatever isn't stays. I have had my inner council preparing this craft for your departure all morning. I think you will find it adequate. To remain here any longer would surely be folly. We heard the news, Gabriel said. Are you hurt badly? I'll mend, Bantu said, but those I have trusted for years have turned out to be murderous traitors, and already this morning we have seen the aggression and then the mysterious destruction of 2 Garnian warships at our very doorstep. How this happened, I am unsure, but there is no doubt that Tungulin will be to blame, and we will surely suffer the repercussions. We've seen Drer Freygood and Commander Binder, and there in the docking bay is Stardeer, but what is the word of Dedlin Dane, Bantu? Day asked fearfully. Where is the wizard? Alas, I am sorry. We have no word of him yet, Your Majesty, although the tale of their incredible night will be presented to you shortly, Bantu told them. I will not patronize you. Dedlin has yet to return from the forest. And when last seen, things looked dire for him. But be heartened. I have had years of experience with many wizards, Dedlin among them, and I can only give you this advice. Do not fear for him. Wizards work in their own ways and work best when things seem their bleakest. They are secretive and notorious for entertaining their own schemes and schedules to the aggravation of the rest of us. Expect him when you least expect him, and then again, possibly never again. Day shook his head. Without him, we are stumbling around in the dark. Maybe. Hopefully he will still come for you, Bantu said. Otherwise, you may have to seek another light, for you cannot stay here now. That is clear. Come, he said, let me introduce you to your crew, and a finer one has never been assembled. As for your primary pilot, I commend my very own master pilot, Percy. This delightful craft, Sunshaft Aurealis, is his. May they both serve you as well as they have served me. Percy, he said as the Mehekian stepped down toward them, this is Prince Gabriel of Bergia and his valet. The mouthless, noseless, and earless Mehekian bowed toward Gabriel, leaning somewhat respectfully toward the young valet at his side. He was a proud-looking, fierce Mehekian warrior, tall, muscled, and pale. It is my deepest honor to serve you, he said telepathically in a voice as smooth as cream. Gabriel returned the gesture. Day nodded. Already, Day liked this Percy. Bantu continued around the craft. Drer Freygood, whom you have already met, will also accompany you. He is well traveled in the lands and in the ways of the wilds, and he will be a great asset to your crew. He has been one of my greatest and most stalwart advisors, the king advised. We served together in the military for many years. He is masterful with the old stories and has many friends abroad, from the greatest castles to the smallest village pubs. He will help you in many ways in Dedlin's stead, until which time the wizard returns. They were close friends. And should you need a story or song around the campfire, I'm a decent lore master and a minstrel of some reputation as well, Dreher told them, smiling as he bowed. And my reluctant servant, Commander Benjamin Binder, will also be your escort, King Vantu said. Binder was busy tossing a few bundles into the lower hold. He nodded, but his bow was not as sincere. At least until you grow tired of his sour demeanor and send him scurrying back here to me. A few chuckles quickly passed at Binder's expense. Commander, Gabriel acknowledged. Truly, Binder is the most trustworthy man I've ever known. Ignore his sometimes cross demeanor, if you're able. He did not want to accompany your party, out of his loyalty to me and his beloved station here in Tunguland. But I have insisted because I value his services so highly. He is smart and strong with a keen ability to see things more objectively than most, especially when it comes to the safety and security of that which he has sworn to protect. He will bring a certain balance to your group you may not have otherwise. His body may be covered with the scars of battle and war, but his heart remains unblemished. We are honored to have his valuable services, Gabriel said. And lastly, a newcomer. A latecomer. This is Othegarus, a Thordian knight of some renowned and distant reputation, King Vantu said, nodding toward the Thordian that Gabriel had seen lurking before in the shadows. I bid you to welcome him and warmly, and to accept his valuable services graciously. Heed his instincts, and you won't go wrong. He will be of great aid, and should you encounter any unexpected adversaries of the Garnian nature. The cloaked figure stepped respectfully forward, but still, Gabriel poised protectively by Day's side, nearly between them. Commander Binder, too, straightened up and scowled at the Thordian with knotted brows. Othegarus' yellow slit eyes glowed like amber fires within the thick wool of his cat-like face. He strode forward with prowess, strength, and feline grace, evident in his every movement. Cautious eyes were upon him, since he was the only stranger amongst the group. The Thordian averted his eyes from Gabriel and bowed deeply before the two of them. It is a pleasure to meet you, Sir Othegarus, Gabriel responded carefully. If King Vantu trusts you, then so shall we. You are as wise as the stories say you are, said the Thordian in a deep, resonating voice as he straightened. Please, you may address me simply as Ott. Well, for the record, I don't approve of his presence at all, Commander Binder growled, stepping forward toward them. He gleamed threateningly at the Thordian. He should be gagged and bound until we... Binder! King Vantu snapped. This is not the time. Commander Binder clenched his jaws tight. He glanced at the king, glared vehemently toward the Thordian Othegarus again for a few tense seconds, then went back to the matter at hand, packing away his belongings. My apologies, he mumbled. Obviously, it is no matter what I think. See, Vantu told them, he'll be fine. Stress and a lack of sleep. Binder's had a bad history with Thordians, which I'm sure you'll hear about soon enough, Vantu said, hurrying them along. Please, board your ship. I have much to do now myself, and your destiny awaits you. Percy fired up the turbines on Sunshaft Aurelius. It was a clean, powerful sound. Several other skycrafts, sizes similar to Percy's Sunshaft, were departing at intervals at the mouth of the depot, heading off in many different directions as decoys, according to the king's plan. Day watched another decoy crew mounting a nearby ship for departure, including another blond boy, his same age and stature. The small accompanying crew of 5 climbed on board the Sunshaft and found their seats and positions. All but young King Day, who dallied reluctantly near the lowered stair ramp, scanning around the room for any last hope of spotting Dedlin Dane scurrying in, frantic, tattered, and late. Please, Vantu pleaded, keep your eyes on your goal now. Remember, there is always more than one solution to every problem, and Dedlin's absence may very well be a blessing in disguise down the road. We will do all that we can do here while we await your good news. In the meantime, continue steadily and swiftly on, never tiring, and utilize every available resource at your disposal. Keep your face in the wind and a shadow far below you. Gabriel reached over to guide Day aboard. We really should go. No one here knows in what direction you now proceed, my friends, not even I. I suggest you keep the details of your mission a secret from even your crew. The less that they know about it, the better. I will keep your departure here a secret for as long as I possibly can. Thank you, Taitao, Gabriel said, fondly gripping the old king's arm. Vantu's face grimaced. It was then that the bloodstain seeping through his royal robes could be seen between his clenched fingers. Get to your doctor soon, Gabriel told him. Be careful, my son, the Gaithote king said softly, and squeezed Gabriel close with one arm. A blessing you are to your father. Take care of yourself, old man. Get some sleep. Vantu smiled painfully. Soon, and you take care of this boy. I will, I promise. I await good news. Now, fly like the wind, and pray, don't look back until you have reached your destiny. Go! Within a few minutes, the silvery towers of Tungulin had receded into the distant morning mists, West Watch Tower gleaming proudly above them all. Percy the Mahekiat master pilot was at the helm, guiding his craft straight and true. Binder and Dreher, not having slept through the previous night's escapades in the forest, went below to rest, so no story or explanation of Dedlin's deeds or demise was yet given to the curious few. That left only Day, Gabriel, and the mysterious Thordian Ott, who sat glaring suspiciously at everyone from his perch on the rear deck, awake and on guard. A half hour later, leaning against Gabriel's shoulder, Day, too, fell asleep in the warm glow of the morning suns. Holding loosely to the thick rail, wind in his hair, Gabriel watched the tops of the trees racing past below them. He wondered if it were possible that the old wizard could still be alive down there somewhere, somehow. The boy king was right, though. Without Dedlin's guidance, what good was any of this other than to temporarily elude the Garnians a few days longer? They were sailing absolutely blind, without any destination or direction whatsoever. Next. Day awoke from his nap just as Sunshaft approached the edge of the great rock Galoth. Behind them, the rugged lavender-lit Subring Mountains faded toward the curved horizon. Before them yawned new blue skies. To the south and east, large black thunderclouds rolled menacingly toward them, as if trying to cut them off before they reached the edge of the great cliffs. The storm rumbled and growled and sent bolts of jagged lightning down into the cowering jungles far below. Gabriel was up at the helm, speaking with Percy while on watch. Aloof as ever, Ott the Thornian had gone below to rest. Day sat alone, spinning in his chair, round and round, watching the colorful heavens along the horizon. Once again, he thought he was heading out into the great unknown. Until recently, he had spent his waking days pampered and spoiled by chambermaids and nurses and hand servants in the palace of Mead. He was schooled by the greatest teachers every afternoon, and at night he cavorted with his multitudes of friends in and around the palace and out in the rolling fields beneath the cold summer stars. But not anymore. That life was gone forever. Even the memories of it seemed distant and as faded as the waking dream. A crooked bolt of lightning tore the southern sky in half. The air shook and vibrated with the thunder that followed. Day knew in his heart that Gabriel and Tytel Vantu were right. With or without Dedlin Dane, they had to go on. There had to be some other alternative, some other viable source of information, some other way to locate this cave. The Kingdom Continent was a massive barbaric land, and Day had no clue of where to even begin looking. Still, there was a certain sense of relief now escaping the tumultuous uprising in Tungulin unscathed. The ride he was now on with this fine new crew was somewhat refreshing to him under the circumstances, despite their lack of direction. It was good to be off again. He smiled when he thought of Devlin Dane whispering in his ear just before he had left. How had he known? Day had thought that his secret was safe and secure, but apparently not. Had the other wizards known as well? Maybe that's why they hesitated so when debating and revealing his identity to Vantu and the council. He could only wonder. As far as he knew, with no wizard on board, his secret remained that now. His personal secret. As his feelings for Gabriel had grown, Day wondered if he should share this secret with him too, or if he should still wait. Not yet, he whispered to himself, smiling. Sunshaft Aurealis shot out over the last mountain cliff of Galoth, leaving the Subrings, the forests and the steaming jungles, and the land of Tungulin and Tytel Vantu far behind. The sheer mountain wall dropped straight down for nearly 5,000 feet to the strange lands over which they now flew, the wilds of Galgaraya. As Sunshaft began her long descent, Day watched the monstrous plateau fall farther and farther behind, the details becoming less and less clear as the distance between them increased. Such a massive rock! He remembered seeing the great rock Galoth for the first time, while fleeing in Habad's nasty ship. It had come out of the sky like a great wall, stretching from the earth to the heavens above the sky. From a distance it had looked like a dark cloud approaching. How glad he had been to have found it, and yet how terrified he had been that he was not going to be able to reach the top before the skycraft ran out of fuel. He had been so sick from the knife wound too, delirious and hallucinating. Now, behind him, the racing storm reached the edge of the rock. Turbulent storm clouds fell over the side in an incredible display of whirlwinds and frantic netted lightning, an extremely awesome display of nature's strength and beauty. He peered over the handrail. Far below their ship, between the clouds, a river wound like a green ribbon between the solemn brown hills. The air grew chilly and the atmosphere thin. Day's stomach growled. The return of his appetite was a good sign. All right, we'll cut it off right there for part 2 because my battery's about to die, and then we'll have the final part 3 of this chapter, chapter 6, on the way. Where?